Shut up and sit down.
All right, guys, we are back for the afternoon segment today, and we are joined by the one and the only, the low lug creator, the creator and the man setting all this up today, Mr. Nate Flood. Nate, welcome to the show. I'm glad to finally have you on. I know you've been a busy man today. It's been a busy weekend, hasn't it?
It's been fun, though.
It looks like you've had a lot of fun. You were doing some bingo down there with kids a little bit ago, and, you know, it looked like a lot of fun. Plus, there's been thousands of people coming in and out for all morning since it opened at 10 o'clock. And, I mean, you know, we're seated in front of Indie Lug's display at the moment, and there were, at one point, probably like 60 people crowded around it. So it's looking like it's a pretty successful show.
We had 1,500 people by 11:30. We were open for an hour and a half.
See? And it just, they're cycling. I went out and grabbed something to eat, and I came back in, and you just see in, out. The doors are going both ways. So that's always a good thing to see. So tell us a little bit about Low Lug. Those of us that are familiar with it, it's Lincoln, Omaha Lug, right?
Yep, Lego User Group.
Lego User Group, right? I know it's such a weird thing to say. I cringe when I say it. So tell us a little bit about the Low Lug.
Myself and Chris Malloy, who's one of the Brothers Brick, we hooked up in Lincoln in 2012, and we happened to just run into each other online on Flickr, actually.
Okay.
And we both kind of looked at each other. We started emailing back and forth, and it's like, hey, I want to start a lug. And he's like, I want to start a lug. So we started a lug.
So you started a lug out of nowhere. We got Brian over here.
Yeah.
Acting a fool like he was earlier, you know. All right. So big event. Obviously, the one last year, I was all set, ready to go. I was so excited. And it never happened, obviously, because the world died. And then, you know, you guys come around, have the event later this year. I mean, it overlapped with Texas Rodeo. Brick Rodeo. I was like, man, why did they do it on the same weekend? Because this was set. Brick Rodeo waited too late. So how many years have you guys been doing the show?
Well, I guess we would consider what we started a very rude Brick Days in 2013
okay.
in the back of Dan Schmidt, who runs Hobbytown, who kind of took over the running Brick Days. We started just in the back of his store trying to get a crowd to come in and look at our mocks, and it has grown every year to the point where we need to get a convention hall. So,
well, it is a very large convention hall. It's not like a back room in a hotel somewhere.
No, we started actually having a Brick Days in Lincoln probably 4 years ago. And started at a ballroom at a Holiday Inn. It was us in Kansas City Brick Lab.
Yeah.
And then we moved to Omaha, then where we got more lugs coming, and then we had one, gosh, that would have been 2018, 2019, we had another larger Brick Days in Omaha. Obviously got canceled last year, and then this year, I think, is just showing how much the public loves Lego. Yeah,
they do. I mean, they from kids to adults. I mean, you've got grown men that are ogling over displays and down to a 4-year-old that are just like, oh, my God. And it was funny because Brian was on earlier, and he was mentioning about, you know, some stuff that you see, they'll have official Lego sets in their builds, and people will be like, kids will say, oh, I have that at home, you know. So that's kind of cool as well. So do you guys run, I know there's another show coming up in Lincoln sometime
November 13th and 14th.
So are you guys running that one as well?
Yep.
Okay, and where will that be?
It's at the Lancaster County Event Center.
Okay.
So it's not as big as this building.
Sure.
But we're also not making it a convention. It's more just an expo.
Okay.
We don't have the presentations and the drafts. And
it's just come, look, see,
we still have our fan interactive things, the
sure.
graffiti wall, the play brick, the bingo. So
it works. So just a whole lot of stuff out of you guys. I'm really impressed. I mean, this being the first live show that I've done, I kind of get I know Beyond the Brick is coming tomorrow.
Yep.
I talked to Joshua. He will be here tomorrow, and now I know what they feel. Like, you feel this environment, this excitement. The people that are here, it's a wild environment.
It's an energy that comes from the crowd.
Yeah.
They just can't get over what you have built. They still have a hard time wrapping their head around how you came up with this without instructions.
Right.
It's fun trying to explain it to them, and then of course the kids all understand. The adults have a problem understanding.
Yeah, you're right. Kids are like, this is easy. I can do this in my sleep. I can build that. Maybe not to specific scale or whatever that some of you guys have. So with that in mind, do you have anything here that you built that you have on display?
Oh, I have lots on display. At the low lug train area.
Over there, the train table.
Yep.
I saw the train table. I talked with some of those guys this morning. You train guys, there's something about y'all between Northern Illinois train group and you guys. There's just there's something about it.
You know what I love about everything that we do. If you don't like doing trains, you can do buildings, you can do pastures, you can do landscaping. You just, because we're a train group, and I wouldn't consider us a train group. We just have a very large train layout,
sure,
with a bunch of really cool creations from our members.
Yeah, because you guys, like you said, it's not just trains. You got a little city layout. I haven't even looked at the entire thing because there's just so much here. But you guys have just a little bit of variety of everything, which is, that's good because kind of what Northern Illinois said, we're going to put the train tracks down. If you want to build a Ninjago creation on this side of this display, by all means, go ahead. And it's nice to have that all brought in together. Now, I'm seeing some of the displays over there are lit up.
Yes.
So how are you guys accomplishing that? Because I've talked to a few different that tried different things.
The two primaries is life lights and brick stuff.
And what?
Brick stuff.
Brick stuff. Okay.
Yep. That's our two primary light go-tos.
So with that, you guys have this big old table over there, the layout. How many different builds do you think are really there?
Ooh. Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't have the answer to that.
Because, we're talking, there's different sized buildings, obviously the different vehicles, the trains and stuff like that. Just, there's so much going on.
I'll have to figure that out.
You need to figure that
question.
out. I know a lot of people say, well, how many pieces? And I asked Brian earlier, how many pieces? And he gave me a roundabout, but it just looks different maybe because it's all spread out and you've got the train running a whole way around the outside. But I'm very curious. But do you guys have any other shows? I know you're doing the one in Lincoln. You said that's just going to be more of an expo. It's not going to be this big giant thing, kind of like is going on in Virginia or currently here.
Right.
Do you guys have any plans for any other stuff, maybe in the local area that somebody in Council Bluffs, Omaha, Lincoln?
Right. We have a couple of toy shows coming up that we just do here in Omaha. They're really on a one-day scale.
Smaller scale,
yep.
yeah.
And then we have a car show in Elmwood. Yeah.
So, okay. So with that, do you guys take, you know what, it's cars, you guys can only build cars, or is it just kind of open template?
Transportation related.
Okay.
We don't want Harry Potter set up.
Sure.
But yeah, so we try to focus more on the car. It's a classic car show. So
okay.
we have so many members who build these beautiful trucks and cars that it's a perfect environment for them to really showcase.
Yeah. I really like that idea. And as long as it's transportation, you've got car guys that are going to build stuff, and then you have car guys that are going to come and look at it, at real cars, and then look at these cars and be like, wow, that is so cool. I know what that is. And then especially when you get down to nitty-gritty details and the certain type of engines. I'm not a car guy, so I'm speaking way out of my depth at the moment. But how so far, how do you think this is going? Obviously, this is just day one. Tomorrow's a whole nother day. You're expecting probably just as big of a crowd throughout the day.
We knew we were going to have a fairly large crowd just because of the buzz that we created on social media. We had a bunch of billboards put up on the interstates in Omaha. I
heard about that last night. I went to go eat somewhere, and the waitress was, I was talking with the waitress, and she said, oh, yeah, I saw that on, she saw it on billboard somewhere, yeah. And she saw it on, maybe on Facebook or something like that, and she said, oh, yeah, my son and I are going to go to that tomorrow. So
it's amazing the power of just doing a billboard or even a TV commercial during Lego Masters. Our likes would go up, or followers would go up on Brick Days by about 100.
Yeah.
Every episode. So we really got people interested. And Lego Masters is one of the most popular shows right now.
Yeah.
So people are just, They're just crazy about Lego.
They are. Well, I mean, I've had conversations this morning. I've had conversations in the past with, being in a pandemic year where Lego was hard to find. It was darn near impossible to get Lego, whether it be on their store or on their online shop or in a big box store. Everything was just sold out and the supply chain was way backed up. And I'm seeing the carryover still. Like, the people that have gotten into it have not left. It wasn't like this is going to be a quick hobby and, now everything's back to semi-normal.
We noticed it during the pandemic, how many people wanted to join Lolug because they all came out of their dark ages.
Yes, right.
They stopped building with Lego because they were starting their family or starting a new job. Well, now they're at home more. They can't go anywhere. So what are they going to do? They're going to build Lego. And it just gets the buzz going again, and they can't stop.
Well, the buzz is really infectious in here at the moment. I think I know you guys have like a semi play pit down on the other end, and there's some car stuff going on down there. I think if there were more adult-centric stuff, you would have even more adults probably sticking their hands into displays and, just messing about.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. Man. All right. So, speaking of Lolug, somebody that is in Lincoln, Omaha, Council Bluffs, whatever, the surrounding region, curious, somebody that wants to join. We've heard from some of the other lugs how their processes work or some things that they do that they're curious. People are curious about before they join, because joining a lug can be a stressful environment, especially if you're an antisocial person. You're going to meet, in some cases, other antisocial people. So tell me a little bit about how that would work if somebody's listening in the area that would want to do that.
We have a completely strict regiment to become a member of Lolug.
Mm-hmm.
You just show up at a meeting, and then you're a member.
You show up to a meeting and you're a member.
Yeah.
Man, you make it super difficult.
Yeah. We try to make it as hard as possible.
Some others are like, you're going to get a Lego buddy. Some others are like, you have to answer this questionnaire.
No. You come to we have our meetings are the third Wednesday of the month.
Sure.
We alternate between Lincoln and Omaha, so we cater to the Omaha people and the Lincoln people in case they don't want to make the commute. And the commute's only 40 minutes.
Okay.
It's not very long. And that's from me in South Lincoln to get up to the interstate.
Okay.
For most people, it's 30 minutes max.
That's not too bad.
No, it's really easy drive. So we have members usually hit both meetings. And
it's kind of like Dallas-Fort Worth. About 30 minutes in between, just here to here. So awesome.
And then, hey, if they can bring something to showcase what they're building, or usually the first time they're just there to observe.
Right.
But Lolug, I've dealt with a lot of lugs throughout my going to Brick World and World War Brick. I think our lug is one of the most friendliest, and we call ourselves a tribe. We bring people in, we make them feel welcome.
Yeah.
And as you can see, all the stations that are going on right now are all volunteers from Lolug.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And we also hang out outside of Lego stuff and go to movies and concerts.
See, now that's the other thing. I know there are some lugs. They don't necessarily do that. I mean, they could be spread out or whatever, but I think sometimes that's the case where there's just not that same camaraderie. There's not that tribe. There's not that family mentality like I've heard from a few of the others, where it is kind of a second family. I know that everybody's got their own stuff they have going on, but when you're together, you're really locked tight.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just we care about each other, and if you can get past, we would be friends if Lego wasn't involved.
Sure.
It's just that Lego brought us together to meet them.
It's the medium that brought you in and glued you together. That makes sense. Yeah. I can understand that. Lego is easy to have a discussion around. I mean, you chat with just random people that are over there. I saw somebody talking to Dan from Brickmania about his giant aircraft carrier over there, and they were just chatting back and forth like two guys that were best friend forever.
And I think you could say that about anybody who's walking through the event hall right now.
Yeah, I would agree.
But it's also the Nebraska Nice. I don't know if you've heard of that.
It's the what?
Nebraska Nice.
You know what? I had mentioned that to somebody last night about some people say, oh, Texans are really laid back and stuff like that. I don't. Maybe out in the way out in the country. But I noticed that last night, like where I went to go eat, and then this morning, just really laid back, really friendly, like we're friends or something. Like the waitress and I were like friends. Like, I don't even know who you are, but you're acting like I've gone to school with you for 10 years or something like that.
Yep, that's the way we are.
Well, it's really cool because you don't get that at certain shows and bigger metro areas. You usually don't get that, so it's really nice to see that. So with your lug in mind, about how many members do you guys have? I know there's some people that are active or not as active.
Total that's onboarded right now, I think it's 105.
Okay. That's pretty sizable.
Yeah.
So are they mainly just Nebraska or?
Yeah, anybody that's on board is in the Omaha, Lincoln metro area. And we have some from northern Nebraska. We have some out western Nebraska. They don't make very many meetings, but yet they're still involved.
Way out in North Platte.
Yeah.
Could have drive the whole way out here.
They won't come to the meeting, but they are involved. So.
Sure. Well, that's really cool. So as far as moving along, you guys have a lot of shows. You're going to be having this show presumably next year. Are you trying to keep it around the same kind of time frame, like summer, where people are maybe on more of a vacation, kids are more free, or are you, like last year that ultimately didn't happen, you're going to try and do sometime in March, April?
We think that having it during the summer to have the convention is the best time because we want the kids to be involved. We want them to come and go to the presentations and learn. And people are easy to get off work more so in the summer.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about their kids. We wouldn't be able to do the convention during March if kids are still in school.
Right.
I like the summer. Nebraska winters are horrible.
Yes, they are.
And we're kind of in the March area, we're kind of still on the bubble
still in the end.
Becoming the spring or still going to be catching second winter. We don't know.
Second winter where there's 10 feet of snow. Well, do you... So you guys doing this show, I mean, it's really, really cool to see so many people. I mean, I don't know what your expectations were for this. I figured you guys had a plan based on all the advertisement and everything. So next year, I mean, do you want to see even bigger? I mean, what is the goal moving forward?
Probably expand into the next room.
Okay.
And grow because unfortunately we had to tell people we ran out of space.
Okay.
So we're looking at taking over a second room where we would combine these two rooms together, add more square feet.
Yeah, because I was chatting with somebody else about that outside earlier, and they were saying that there's only so much room for tables because people still have to walk around.
Yeah. And
you're talking, 5 people wide across that are going through these aisles between this table and the table across. So that great idea to expand. I hope it does. I want to come back next year. I like the environment up here. I mean, it's only a 10-hour drive. That's nothing. If I can be up here for the weekend and enjoy the environment from the Nebraska ice, I'm all in.
Yeah, absolutely. We love having you here, so come on back.
It was a lot of fun to promote it and jump up and down and scream and say, oh, my goodness, yeah, we're going here. We're doing this, the live show. Everybody needs to jump in on it. So, yeah. So moving aside from the lug stuff and the show stuff, you're a Lego man at heart. I got a few questions for you that I've been asking some of the others. Everybody sorts their Lego, right? Okay.
Or tries to.
Okay, tries to. Are you a color first or are you a element first?
Color. Scratch that. Color, generally, unless it's a part I use routinely, and then it's down by element and color.
Okay. So you're not talking about some random little leaf element or something that was in an elf set one time.
All my vegetation is in one or two big boxes.
See, there you go. Okay. Because I know there's some. It goes back and forth between is it this, is it that, or what is the best way to do it. The other one I have for you, and I always hear Lego members alike, and then just general public. Is it Lego or is it Legos?
Oh, it's Lego. Lego bricks with the S on the end of bricks.
I don't correct people. My wife still does it. Legos. I'm like, oh, my ears. Like, it's nails on a chalkboard. Okay. I know there's some people that are in lugs and stuff like that still say Legos. They just, maybe it's a habit they can't break and stuff like that. So That's the correct way to do it.
It is. Lego bricks. There's no question.
Lego is the brand, right? Yeah. All right. How long? So when was the first time you got your first set? I don't want to date you as far as say, 58, 90 years ago. Obviously, you're not that old. I'm just making a joke, but
my first set was probably 1978.
do you remember what it was?
Oh yeah, it was. I don't know the set number.
Okay.
But it was a truck with a flatbed, and then a crane on the flatbed. I remember it because my dad was a truck driver, and this is the first thing I saw that, hey, you can really play with this. And then it quickly became, because I was 77,
yeah,
a group of Star Wars.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that quickly became a Star Destroyer.
Okay. I'm sure it did. So out of everything that has come out, I mean, we're talking to this date, the whole way back till the catalog began. I don't even know how many decades ago. Do you have a favorite set or a favorite theme? Because I know a lot of people will say, "Oh my God, I'm classic space," or "I'm pirates," or castle. Those are always the three that I hear. A lot of the designers that I talk to, that usually ends up being the case.
You know, I think I started off at classic space.
Sure. It was popular.
It was. And I was, like I said, I grew up with Star Wars. This was the
Right.
closest thing they had to Star Wars until they come out with Star Wars, and I wanted all those sets. And then I found this huge online world where all of this stuff was, what was it called? Brick Shelf.
Oh, okay.
One of the very first image sharing.
Okay.
And then I found trains, and then they put out the Santa Fe, and I went, okay. So my favorites have varied throughout the years.
Sure.
Right now, it's still trains.
Still trains. Well, the train display looks magnificent.
Thank you.
Has there ever been a discussion between like you and maybe in like Northern Illinois, like, hey, let's go to this train show? Because train guys, not Lego train guys, train people, they're in a different world. They are very, very specific. So would that be something that you guys would ever consider, collaborating on?
We would if it works out, but they've already started doing that at the national railroad shows.
Sure.
And of course,
well, Nebraska's big railroad.
Oh yeah, we haven't got the National Model Railroad Association to come, and NMRA, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
And they haven't come to our area, but they were in Kansas City a couple years ago, and there was quite a few lugs that participated in that, and they had a huge display. And there's still that sideways glances from the old model railroaders who don't consider Lego
right
a true gauge of railroading.
Sure.
That is changing because they see that the crowds that we draw in.
Yeah, I think so, because model railroading is not going anywhere. I don't think that's going to ever die. But I think the more that people get experience with this kind of stuff, with public, kids usually tend to gravitate more towards something they can actually play with than stickering up a model and,
right.
So, yeah. Well, I had a pleasure chatting with you. I'm really excited about this event for next year. Moving forward, hopefully I can make the one in Lincoln. That would be awesome. If the winter doesn't kill me trying to get here.
Exactly. Hopefully in November we're still okay.
Hopefully at that point in time. Texas is like, 85 degrees, let's go. We're still good.
Well, we may be in the 60s or we may have a foot of snow. So we'll see.
Have a foot of snow. Well, Nate, tell us, I don't think I asked you in the beginning, where can people find your lug if they're curious about maybe reaching out to join or whatever?
Just if you're on social media, just look up Low Lug on Facebook or go to our website, lowlugclub.org.
All right. Well, there you guys have it. If you are curious, you are in the low lug area, want to build trains or
if you
buildings.
are a lug looking to come to an event, go to brickdays.com and get in touch with us.
There is that too. Yeah. And hopefully no one backs out at the last minute and leaves you hanging with empty tables, right?
Hey, it's all good.
All right. Well, guys, we're going to take a break real quick before our next guest comes on. We're a little bit early. So moving on, we'll be back in a few minutes, guys. right, guys, we are back from break. I'm joined by another awesome person here that is hanging out with me in the convention center today with all these crazy, wild people that are just Lego crazed. So with me right now, I've got...
Good afternoon. My name's Christian Broder, and I'm from the Springfield Lug, Springfield, Missouri Lego User Group. And we came up here for Brick Days and are having a great time. Happy to join you on the show.
You guys traveled. I know there's a bunch of different Springfield cities, and that was what I was going to ask you. Like, which Springfield did you come up from?
That's
So.
right. Yeah. Springfield, Missouri. Yeah.
So you guys have a huge display up there. You're paired up with just all kinds of different things from people from your group. You guys have been around since what, 2018 officially?
Well, we started in 2018, and we got our official seal of approval from Lego about a year ago. I believe.
Whoa. That was a big deal, right? You guys threw a house party and everything.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So,
No, it was good to get the official approval from Lego, and so
put a little feather in your cap.
That's
like,
right.
We're recognized now. We're official. So you guys have a ton of different builds down there.
We have a variety of interests. Yeah,
I talked to you this morning. You did some Overwatch stuff. I know the Overwatch people are a little. They're kind of like Bionicle people, where they're just a little crazy in their own way. So what do you have down there that you've created? Because we're not talking set stuff. We're talking official mocks.
Yep. So I'm the main one in the group that likes Overwatch, and we're a little bit sparse nowadays. But I brought Eichenwald Castle, which is a mock of the sort of centerpiece castle that is part of the Eichenwald level in Overwatch. I brought the Hanamura Temple, which is basically a specific area in the Hanamura map. It's the first objective that the attacking team is trying to take over. And then I brought the Ilios Lighthouse. So the Ilios map has 3 parts, and it's one of the 3 parts. It's sort of the centerpiece for that map. And then those are sort of the three big builds that I brought, and I have a variety of smaller Overwatch theme builds that I brought as well.
When I was down there this morning, I was checking those out after you and I were chatting, and there's what looks like a mosaic or something like that down there.
Yep.
And you look at it from the one side, and it changes.
Yep. So it's a type of artistic build that I think has become more popular pretty recently. It's called a lenticular, and basically you use the cheese wedge Lego pieces, the 1x1 or 1x2 cheese wedge pieces, and you have alternating rows facing in different directions.
Okay, and I was curious to know how you did it. I didn't look at the close-up detail, but
yep. So you start at one side and you make a row of cheese wedges vertically, and then for the next I should say column of cheese wedges, you change its orientation so it's facing the other direction, and then you just alternate from there. And so basically, like you said, if you stand on one side and look at it, you're seeing half the cheese wedges, and they make a picture. And then if you move around to the other side and look at it from the other direction, you're seeing the other half of cheese wedges, and they make a different picture. So what I did was the Overwatch logo from one side, and then the Blackwatch logo from the other side.
Okay. So. You're speaking French to me. I don't know anything about Overwatch, so when you were going through your mocks, I was like, basically, it's like Star Wars to me.
Yeah, Overwatch and Blackwatch is kind of like good guys, bad guys in the Overwatch world. And then the 3 big builds I was talking about, Eichenwald is a German castle. Hanamura is a Japanese. It's like a family. House isn't the right word. I guess estate maybe is a better word. And I built the temple part, and then Ilios is a Greek lighthouse. So that's one of the neat things about Overwatch is it's kind of cosmopolitan. There's different locations from all around the world, different characters from all around the world.
That's always it's an important thing to have that inclusivity.
Yeah,
and it's really cool that you have it in your mocks. So with Overwatch, I mean, obviously you knew Overwatch was being made by Lego, and then they pulled the plug on it real fast because it just didn't perform like it was intended to.
They had about 1.5 series of sets, unfortunately, and keep my fingers crossed that they'll announce they're coming in for another wave. But my last hope is if Blizzard comes out with Overwatch 2.
Sure.
And sort of renews some interest in the game and in the theme, then maybe Lego will follow suit with another wave. But we'll see. I'm not holding my breath at this point.
Have you ever thought? Well, and maybe you already have. Have you ever thought about taking one of your mocks and putting it up on Lego Ideas?
I think the 3 main ones are probably too big.
Okay.
I think I'd have a hard time getting those passed because they're just too many pieces.
I think that's the case with most of the mocks that I've seen around here. They're way too large to be able to be put into production without costing a kidney and an arm.
Looking around this room, it's just amazing the scale some people build at. I think of my castle and the other two as pretty good sized builds, and then you put them next to some of the other things that people have built here, and they're just almost dwarfed. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, you've got an Overwatch house or whatever castle thing that's over there.
Chateau Guillard was made by one of the other builders here, and I was dismayed when he started putting it together on Thursday to realize that I didn't even have all the time and effort I've spent into putting these Overwatch mocks together. I don't even have the biggest, best one here. But more kudos to him. That's I apologize if I mispronounce his name, but Matt Delanoy, I believe, is from the Northern Illinois train group, and his Chateau Guillard is fabulous.
Yeah, it was one of those things that caught my eye because you've got the train that runs there, and then it just takes up an entire corner of like a table and a half. It's
enormous.
Massive.
Yep.
It's really, really big. So Overwatch probably isn't going to come back. I hate to burst your bubble.
I know.
There's always a chance. There's always a chance.
Got my fingers crossed, but we'll see.
So walking around, obviously, setup began on Thursday?
A Thursday, yeah.
So you've had an opportunity to walk around and stuff like that. What are some of your favorite builds that you have seen here? Maybe either from your lug or some of the other stuff that you've seen here.
Yeah. So my lug did bring some other stuff, and I'll go ahead and mention those real quick, and then some of the other favorites that I've seen just walking around the room. We did have a collaborative basically diorama of the Battle of Hoth from
which is so
episode
cool,
5, and we had a lot of fun with that. We put a lot of Easter eggs in there, things that aren't supposed to necessarily be there, and we tried to keep them ice or frozen themed. So of course we have Elsa.
I saw her. I found it. I was doing the checklist earlier.
We've got a scavenger
like Jurassic
hunt.
Farm. I was like, where? I found it.
We have Frozone from The Incredibles, and we have Zane, the ice ninja from Ninjago, and so Mr. Freeze, the Batman villain. So that was a really fun build because we worked together on it, and like I said, we had a lot of fun putting the little Easter eggs in there. I have another one of my lug mates, Richard Odell, who put together a pretty cool Minecraft overworld build. And then, of course, we have Chris Goddard, who was one of the featured builders at the Lincoln Brick Days in 2019, and he has a variety of very cool vignettes. You may have seen the Roadrunner and Coyote builds that he has over there. His stuff is just very creative and unique. And then we have the big pirate display in the middle. That's, again, kind of a collaborative effort. It's mostly done by Jeremy Smith, but significant contributions from Michael Orphan and Stephen Romsberg. And it's another one of those, you can walk all the way around it. It's 7 tables big, and
it's huge.
Just pirate ship after pirate ship.
Yes. Landmass, pirates, there's sharks.
The volcano that lights
up.
The
volcano that lights up in the middle.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And It's got the Kraken taking down a ship, and
I saw that.
It's another one of those where the more you look, the more you see, and you probably won't ever see it all. There's so many little details. But outside of our lug, the things that have stood out to me, I already mentioned the Chateau Guillard. There's a Tylosaurus, which my son pointed out immediately when we first got here. He said, "Dad, they've got a Mosasaurus," and so it must be a similar type of marine dinosaur. But I heard, multiple people have said to me over the weekend that it's the best organic Lego build that they've ever seen, and I can't disagree. It's amazing. Wow. And there's another build by one of the low lug guys that's called like the Over and Underworld, I believe.
Okay.
It's a fantasy themed. It's got kind of a castle at one corner, and it's got a medieval town with a variety of things going on, and then underneath it's got a cave where there's dwarves doing mining and stuff like that. And it's another just
it's like Stranger Things.
Yeah, it's the sheer scale. It's amazing, and it's another one of those where the more you look, the more you see. So those are probably the ones that have really stood out to me. And then, of course, the KC Brick Labs city display.
Yeah, it is pretty darn awesome.
Yeah,
it is really cool. Yeah, there's. I've probably walked back and forth across that thing 10 times, without a doubt, just back and forth. Like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about your Star Wars build. That was something that Star Wars fans are everywhere. I mean, everywhere. There's probably 1,000 of them in this room, minimum.
Yeah. Yep.
So with that in mind, that build, I know it's a collaboration and stuff. How did you guys even go about beginning to plan and lay that thing out?
So it's funny. It kind of started off as less of a planned build and more of a, hey, we've got a lot of these really cool Lego sets, and what could we build to be able to put them on display? Sort of, this AT-AT is a cool set, but just standing here on the table, it looks kind of,
right.
looks kind of lame. We ought to build some, an environment basically to showcase it. And that's kind of how that started. And it just, forgive my pun, please, but it really snowballed from there.
Of course you went there.
Yeah, I had to. Sorry. So we basically started out with the big 48 by 48 base plates and, laid out a scene. We said, here's the trenches. Here's where the Rebel base gate is going to be. Here's where the AT-ATs are going to be. And we built it on the Mills style.
Okay.
I'm sure many of your listeners are familiar with that.
Yeah.
But the beauty of that is it's expandable.
Sure.
And it's portable. You can take it apart for transport. That makes it really easy. And we just kind of started with a core and built outwards. And we knew we had to have a Wampa cave, and we knew we had to have the crashed AT-AT with the snow speeder flying around it. It's definitely one of those what I call living builds where, you don't just build it and forget it. We kind of return to it periodically and add to it and tweak it and make changes. So
are there anything else you guys plan on adding to it in the future?
What I'd like to do and what we've talked about doing is basically doing sort of a backdrop for it. So right now it's actually built so that you can walk around it from all sides. But what we found is a lot of these shows, you're really showing it from one side.
Sure.
And so I think the next step probably is going to build like basically an ice wall behind it, mixture of rock pieces and snow, sort of, like I said, to serve as the backdrop for it.
Sure. That makes sense. I mean,
yeah.
Like you said, people are only seeing it from one side,
right.
Unless you happen to be like, the Jurassic Farm in front of us where you can walk around the whole thing. But
yeah.
most builds are not to that size,
right.
that 50 million bajillion feet, square feet. So that is an interesting idea. I know that I've seen some in the past that have been done like that are more kind of almost 3D-esque to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Very, very interesting. And then you brought up about the pirate thing as well.
Yeah, the pirate display, I don't really have a hand in. I just kind of, walk around it and view it in awe, just like the rest of the crowd,
Right.
I guess. I had a few pirate things when I was growing up, but it was never really the theme that drew me in. So
Sure.
I let the others handle that. But like I said, it was a collaborative effort. Jeremy's the one with most of the pirate ships, but Michael built, a whole island centered around the old Lego Islanders theme.
Sure.
And then Steven built the island that has kind of the, you see it in a lot of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies where there's like the jut of rock out over the ocean, and then it has
yes.
like the pillar down, so it creates almost like an archway.
Right.
And it's really cool. I'm sure they'll continue adding to that and changing it over time as well. But.
It is. I could probably say this about everything in this room. They're all impressive.
Oh yeah.
But there's just something about it. I'm not a big Pirates. Like, Pirates wasn't my thing as a youngin'. It was, but seeing it and then seeing it in this grand scale, it's like, holy cow.
It's tempting for me too, but I have to resist. Like the same thing with the trains. I've been told, stay away from Lego trains if you want to protect your wallet.
Yeah,
and,
trains will suck you in.
So I'll stick with Star Wars and Overwatch. Those are my themes, and I'll let the others in the group do the pirates.
Well, you know that every show you go to, you're going to have like the Bonkle people. You're
Yep.
going to have your Bionicle fans that are going to be there, that are going to gravitate towards it. And same with Overwatch. Every show you do, there's going to be a handful of people who are like,
I sure hope so.
you can geek out with and say, oh my goodness, did you know? And this is my favorite part. Oh, I love this build or whatever.
Absolutely. We have a lot of people come by that say, oh, that's a cool castle, but why do you have people with lasers on it? That doesn't make any sense. Or some people will come by and say, is that the Harry Potter castle? And it's fun talking with those people and kind of explaining as well. But when you get the Overwatch fans, the ones who really play the game and know the levels, and they're like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, I know exactly, where that is. And, you've got Reinhardt and you've got Bastion and et cetera. That's what really makes it worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree.
Yeah.
There's just something about it, man. There's something about it. Well, a lot of cool stuff here. I know there's just endless things to see here. Do you guys, or do you have a favorite from your lug of what they brought? Obviously, the Star Wars build that you collaborated on. You're going to be like, oh, this is number one but for sure. But
man, to be honest, I'm just really proud of everything our lug's done.
Sure.
I'm hesitant to even pick a favorite because it's
you don't want to leave anybody out.
Yeah, it's really good. I don't want to leave anybody out, and we've come a long way in just a few years. I think there's so many groups here. I think they have 10 or 11 lugs here representing, and we're a small young lug, and I feel like we've held our own reasonably well against a lot of bigger, older lugs that granted have very impressive and amazing things, but I'm proud of what our lug's done here today. This weekend, I should say.
Talking with some of the other lugs just on here and then just, in person, just walking around, how far you guys have come, considering your official or non-official, from the start, to how grandiose of builds you have is a pretty big deal. Considering when you talk about KC Brick Lab and they were talking about not even having road plates in the beginning, just construction paper. I mean, it's big.
It's a testament to the core leadership of our lug. I'm not one of the founding members. I joined about 6 months after the lug started, and I'm so fortunate to have found them. I was telling somebody earlier this weekend, I've been building Lego since I was 5 years old, and I thought, a couple of years ago, I thought I knew everything there was to know about building Lego, and I have learned so much after just in a couple of years from joining the lug about how to source parts, how to sort your parts, various building techniques, things I'd never even heard of or never would have dreamed up on my own. So it's been an amazing resource, and that's what I would tell other builders out there is, no man is an island, and there's so much you can learn from other people. It's been great for me. So
awesome. So you talk about sorting, or you mentioned it briefly.
Yep.
There's only one correct answer. Is it color first or part first, element first?
So if you pin me down to those, I will say part first.
Okay.
But to me, the real answer is it depends. What I do is certain rare colors, I will sort those colors out. If it's a color that I don't have a lot of pieces of. But in general,
chrome, what is it? Gold colored, lacquered, whatever.
Yeah, like sand green or
right.
Something like that. I will sort those out by color, but in general, I prefer my parts, my Lego sorted by part.
That makes sense. I've heard a little bit of everything from everybody.
I think there's people on both sides of the aisle. So, like I said, I try to straddle the fence a little bit.
That works. You can always get away with one or the other. You just got to stick to it, right?
Yeah. As long as you have a system that works for you, that's what matters. You don't want to spend valuable building time digging around for the part that you're looking for. Yeah.
Well, I've heard some degrees of really anal retentive where it's this, it has to be this, and I'm just kind of like, well, we'll roll with it.
I'm pretty OCD, but I also share my collection with my 12-year-old and my 15-year-old, so
things are going to end up out of place.
There's only so much. I have to be a little bit tolerant.
Okay, so you bring that up. Is building with your kids, obviously, it's a great family activity. I've seen a ton of families here. I mean, they've been in and out all day. Do you allow your kids to have any input into or help hands-on with some of your big mocks or whatever?
Yes. They have both actually helped a little bit with all of my mocks, and they both play Overwatch, so they know the game just as well as I do. And they've come up with some, interesting ideas that I've incorporated into the builds as well that I may never have thought of myself. And, sometimes I'll delegate tasks to them as well. Like, you build this part or something like that.
And you've got your own little design team there.
Yeah, that's right. And the other main thing that they do is when we get to one of these shows, I set up the mocks and then I let them decorate them with the figs.
Okay.
So they put them in their battle poses and stuff like that.
Kids
so
that.
They have fun with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's always an enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
All right, well, I've got a few questions yet, and then
sure,
you can be on your way away from the microphone, because I know before we started, you're like, I'm a little iffy with this kind of stuff. Everybody has a favorite set or theme from whether it be childhood, adulthood. I'm going to peg you to it.
So for me, and that's kind of what actually got me started off on the Overwatch building, I grew up really with the classic castle stuff. And
you're the first one today, by the way.
Well,
I said that.
I know I'm not the only one in the room.
I know you're not the only one.
But I grew. I started building Lego in the mid '80s or so, and I remember having like the Black Falcon Fortress, but probably my favorite set growing up was the King's Castle from that era.
Okay. That's a fan favorite right there. People are waiting for that to be redone.
And that's the reason when I was playing Overwatch and I saw the Eichenwald Castle on that map, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to build that out of Lego. And it took several tries. I had to. This is the third iteration of that castle, but I'm happy with the way it turned out.
Classic castle.
Classic castle, yeah.
That works. So everybody has had a moment, well, maybe not everybody. Most people have had a moment where they're like, I shouldn't have gotten rid of this in my dark ages or something like that. Have you ever had something like that?
I've been pretty lucky.
Whoa.
People talk about, I went to college and my mom threw out all my Legos and stuff like that. Or they were up in the attic and, got leaked on or something. I pretty much have all my stuff from when I was a kid. they're play worn because
Yeah, of course.
I had battles
Right.
and some guys didn't make it, so some of my older sets are missing a fig or two, but there's nothing in particular. Like I said, I've been pretty lucky.
Well, you would be one of very few that I've ever come across. They're like, yes, because usually it's like, oh, I went into my dark ages and things got thrown out, or my parents threw things out, or you've got half of a set and then the other half you have to bricklink or something like that.
I made sure when I left the house that it was made clear the Legos were not to be gotten rid of.
They stay or you die.
Yeah.
You will die a painful Lego death. That's what will happen. I will roll you around on the floor.
You will have to walk barefoot across the Lego floor.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Chris, it was great having you on. Just hearing about builds, the lug, all that kind of stuff. It's always fun time. So
it was a pleasure to be on. And like I said, I would put in a plug for anyone's local lug. They're always looking for more members, more builders, more participants, and there's so much that you can learn. So I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Please bring back Lego Overwatch.
Somebody in Denmark right now is not another one.
Yeah.
Please, not another one.
Hey,
we can't.
If there's enough of us, stop ignoring us.
Until it turns into Bionicle, where you've got an ideas project that gets voted on and then ultimately doesn't end up making it. So you never know. You never know. There could be enough Overwatch reach, but we'll see. So, all right, Chris.
You take care. I appreciate you having me.
Yep. And you guys, we are going to take a quick break. We'll be back here in a few minutes with Dan from Brickmania. You guys are not going to want to miss this. This is going to be something epic that you guys are probably going to cry over, because we're finally going to get an opportunity to talk about this giant aircraft carrier. right, guys, we are back with our next guest on the show, and I already teased it. I told you I'd find him and I would get him. And I'm here with Dan from Brickmania. Dan, thank you for coming and joining me this afternoon here in the lovely convention in Nebraska Brick Days.
Yeah, well, thanks for hosting me.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about Brickmania. I will confess I don't know a whole lot, but I'm sure all of my listeners, or a lot of them, will already know. So tell me a little bit about Brickmania.
Well, Brickmania makes custom sets out of Lego pieces. So we started about 20 years ago. It just started with me in my basement making castle sets out of boredom and disappointment of what Lego was offering. So I decided, instead of complaining about it, I might as well make my own.
You're going to step out and brand.
Right, and I've been doing it ever since. So about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years, I decided to get serious and do it as a real business instead of just me in my basement. So I had to get a warehouse, had to hire some employees, and now we have like over 50 full-time employees.
That's impressive.
And we can barely keep up with the demand for our stuff.
So you talk about demand for your stuff. What are some of the things now? I overheard you talking over there, and I know of Brickmania. I don't know a whole ton about Brickmania, but you have a lot of really cool sets over there. Me being a Marine veteran, I saw that stuff, and I'm like, "Ooh, I've seen the carrier. I've seen some of those aircraft." So tell me a little bit about some of the things that people can get from Brickmania.
So we, it wasn't intentional, but we started making military models.
Sure.
Mainly because people were asking us for it, and that's evolved over the years until that's almost primarily what we do is military models and figures and weapons and stuff. That's all related to that. And in the last few years, we've actually been working with some of the manufacturers like Sikorsky and Textron Bell and Lockheed Martin. So when we make all these aircraft, and we're actually doing them under license. So we have the official permission to do them, and not necessarily the blessing.
Sure.
But they appreciate what we do, and
it goes far. I mean, there's a lot of people that clamor for it, and you walk around the shows, this one especially, I mean, you see yours, and then you see some of on the other end with some of the World War II stuff. I mean, there's always a fan base that wants to be, because Lego's not going to make it.
And before Brickmania started, it didn't even exist. It was not back in the early 2000s, when I was making my first sets, there was nothing of its kind.
No.
And we had so few, compared to today's standards, we had so few bricks to work with that it's so primitive by comparison to what we do now. But it's really taken off. I mean, I wouldn't say that we necessarily started, because I think the demand was already there, but we made it, people realized they could actually do it.
Well, I mean, you made the demand accessible.
Yeah.
The products are there now. So roughly about how many models do you guys have that people could buy on your website?
At any given time, there's probably 50 different sets.
That's impressive.
In our store and production.
Do you guys rotate them in and out, kind of like Lego does? Okay, yeah.
We have. There's more stuff that we have more designs that we can possibly make at once. It's everything, of course, costs money for us to do.
Right, of course.
And we're limited by how fast we can turn around basically what people are buying and turn it into the next generation of sets.
Sure. So do you guys, when something comes out, I mean, there's new aircraft always in production, whether it be helicopter or support aircraft, jets and stuff like that. Do you plus the new pieces that Lego is always rolling out, is that one of those things like you're like, all right, this piece isn't coming out yet for another 2 or 3 months in a certain set or something like that in a certain color? Obviously you want to stay dark bluish gray, light bluish gray, that kind of stuff. But is it kind of like, well, we really want to do this SU-33, but the pieces we want to use are not there yet, and you kind of shelve it?
No, we typically will work around it. We're not going to wait for Lego to make stuff that doesn't exist yet.
Right. You could be waiting forever, I guess.
Yeah. So they're not working for us. They're not doing what they do. They do what they do to fit their schedule. We just happen to have the aftermarket was willing to break apart their sets, sell us all the pieces, and that's how we get primarily get our parts. And it started out with me just going to the stores after holidays and buying stuff on clearance.
Yeah.
And then Bricklink happened. So Brickmania actually predates Bricklink.
So Brickmania happened, and Bricklink happened, and then Brickmania grew.
Right. Yeah, it's we are blessed to be part of like a big community of adult fans.
Yeah.
And we support that community, they support us. So it's a real kind of symbiotic relationship.
That is a very good word for it. You guys have entwined yourself, I know, in the community in more ways than one. Do you guys have anything that, some kind of future aircraft that you would like to see that is a real aircraft that you're like, I really want to have this so that we can build it? Or
there's always stuff. There's always the next model, and at this point because we have designers, international designers now. We have people in many different countries actually designing for us. We actually have to plan months. We're almost a year out in a lot of our planning. So what's going to come down the pipeline? So there are things that we know are coming, and then there's things that we're working on because some of the things we need to get permission to do.
Sure.
Some are trademarked items, so we need to be able to get permission. So we're working on that, and it's like you got to deal with lawyers, deal with agents.
Yeah.
It's not something I intended to do when I started Brickmania, but it just evolved that way.
Yeah.
So
all the legalese, that's what holds everything back.
Yeah.
For good reason. I get it.
There was a certain point that we were small enough to fly under the radar, but it's not necessarily possible anymore. We're too big.
Way too big. So I got to talk about the big set you have over there. I heard you mentioning some of the metrics on it earlier. The aircraft carrier that you have over there is CVN. What's it modeled after? Is it a specific carrier?
It's the USS Macon Island. So it's technically, I think it's considered an aircraft carrier. It's really an amphibious assault ship.
Okay.
So it's a giant taxi cab for delivering Marines. And that's its whole sole purpose. 1,600 Marines live on this thing, and they're ready to go wherever they're sent anytime, and it has aircraft, it has hovercraft.
I saw the hovercraft.
Yeah, so 3 of those hovercraft would be able to fit inside the ship.
That thing is huge sitting behind it. That thing's massive in its own right.
That's a set that we built.
I was going to ask. I was going to ask you that. Is it official?
It's so big we don't necessarily keep any on the shelf. We do like a couple times a year. So hey, we're going to do another batch. If you want to get in on it, you got to put a deposit down.
Right.
Because we'll only make as many as people order.
Yeah.
We won't make any extras. The extras that we did make are actually earmarked for future displays.
Okay.
So the ship itself, the Macon Island, is about 25 feet long, weighs hundreds of pounds. We don't have a full weight. It's all Lego. There's no internal frame or anything like that. It's Lego inside and out, no glue, nothing like that.
Nothing. It's just built together with brick, huh?
Right. It's heavy.
I'm sure it's heavy. It looks massive. So I assume it's got a modular design to it where it can come apart. Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
It's made in every 5 feet. It breaks into another section.
Okay.
So it's 5-foot sections. It's about 3 feet wide.
Okay.
So it takes 4 people to lift each.
I was going to ask how many manpower arms does this going to take? That's a lot.
Yeah, and I think some of the sections are so heavy it probably be better having 6 people moving it.
Yeah, I believe it. So how do you ship that thing around? Is that like a full-on shipping crate? You're DHLing that thing across the country?
No, we drive it. We have a van. We built a battleship several years ago, and I bought a van for that. And this we had to buy a bigger van for this ship. This is a bigger model. So we just bought a van a couple months ago. It's not. It is the biggest model of Sprinter that you can buy, and it barely fits in there.
Barely squeeze that thing in there. Yeah, guys. If you, I've got some pictures of it that'll go up on social media later, so that everybody can see what Dan's talking about, because this thing is. It's to die for. So you talked a little bit about minifigs and stuff. I know people are giant into minifigs and stuff like that. Do you guys print your own custom minifigs, or do you outsource it, or how's that work?
We do everything in-house we possibly can. So while we like to support the other AFOL businesses, there's just nobody's big enough to keep up with the sort of supply that we need to have. So we take Lego figures. We buff off the printing.
Okay.
So we strip off the Legos printing. No offense, Lego, but
right.
We need something else. So then we print custom, printing. Any surface that's on that Lego figure is fair game for us. We'll print the top of the head, the neck stud. We'll print, you name it, we'll print it.
So that's a big deal, because I know that those are the things that people want. I can't find,
Right.
because they're not going to make it, because it goes against their military policy. You know, everybody knows that. So it's kind of like Brick Arms, Brickmania. We're making this, and we're making this. Because you walk around, like I said, these shows. There's modern stuff. There's different era stuff from Vietnam, World War II. There's all kinds of stuff. So, what can we see coming in the future from you guys to get people a little bit excited?
Well, we just, right now we're actually in the process of relaunching our castle theme.
Oh.
We haven't done a castle theme set in I don't know, 7-8 years. And even that was kind of a one-off. And so right now we did a poll and said, what kind of medieval stuff? And it's not we threw in like ancient Rome just as like, let's see what people think on that, as something to compare like Vikings or,
sure,
some sort of medieval theme. And actually the Roman theme won, which we didn't think was going to happen. So now we're like launching an ancient Roman theme, and it's cool. We're building a giant fortress basically that you can buy pieces of and put it together to make a giant fortress.
See, it's that kind of stuff, the thinking outside the box, and I'm happy to see that kind of stuff that people are never going to have an opportunity to get, because if it doesn't go up as ideas and get approved through Lego ideas, it doesn't happen.
So Lego ideas, it's a great concept.
Yeah.
And I was actually did that the first mock creation. I love all that stuff, but there's no way that they're going to do a 10,000 piece set.
No, yeah, and that's something else. I was talking with somebody else earlier. I said, would you do an ideas project? Yeah, but it's never going to get approved. Yeah. It's too big. It's way outside of the scale.
Yeah.
So to date, you guys have released so many models and stuff like that. What was your favorite one, and maybe you personally had a hand in designing, or one that maybe somebody else on your team designed?
I always say that the best one is the next one I'm working on.
I've heard that before.
Because I like to get involved in the research side of it. So before I even put bricks together, I'm like learning the history of the particular object. Like if it's an aircraft, I'll
sure.
buy books and read all about it, so I know not to make dumb mistakes.
Right.
that if I knew something about the subject, I'd be able to would have prevented. So
yeah.
I like to research. So it's always I just dive into whatever's happening next as my next thing.
So what about your source material? What do you use for source material? Obviously, if you're working with something that's specifically licensed or like a Bell or a Sikorsky or something like that, they may send you some stuff. But what do you do for source material?
Well, we actually just buy books.
And that's it?
Brickmania has a huge library. When we see stuff on the schedule that we don't know anything about, we will buy books. I will typically read about what we're doing, and if the other designers don't read about it, I'll read about it and tell them what they need to do. So it's a lot of books. Sometimes the best pictures out there are what other modelers, maybe not necessarily Lego models, but scale modelers.
Okay.
Because they will take a model, put it in good lighting, take a picture of it,
and roll with it like that.
Like in real life, some things are just too top secret to have.
Right? Naturally. Yeah. I know all about that.
So we actually don't, for like Bell or Lockheed Martin, we
sure.
don't get any help from them at all.
Okay.
Because that would require
and a lot of clearance.
Yes.
A lot of clearance.
They can't they can't even tell us like the diameter of a turret ring or something like that. They're not allowed to share that unless we have protocols in place to like
sure.
make sure that information stays. And it's too much for us to be responsible for.
You want to talk about legal? That's a whole nother world of legal right there.
Yeah. So we don't ask questions.
You just go ahead. We're going to go ahead and design this thing.
As long as we stay within their parameters of what they want to look good.
Sure.
They don't want us to make anything that looks
nobody wants crap of their product of whatever. Right. So yeah, man, some of those models are really they just blow my mind away. I look at them like I feel like I'm on the tarmac looking at a real aircraft right now. Like, some of the helos you have over there, place them like, the wings swept back and everything. It's just so much.
Well, we like to, we started out making stickers and putting on all of our stuff. And now
okay.
we're printing the insignias right on the bricks.
So for your company, obviously you guys have said, you're growing, you're just blowing water, just crazy over the last 2 decades. I mean, from where you started to where you are now. are you guys ever looking? How does somebody, like, if they're like, you know what, I want to design models for Brickmania, like, how does that process go? Is that just hey, I'm going to reach out and see, or do you guys recruit somebody?
We don't have a process. What we don't want to do is like Lego. They have a process. You have to jump through all these hoops.
Yeah.
We would rather, like, we'll either find you, or, you know, if you send us an idea, pitch something at it. It's a good possibility that if we don't, you know, if it fits in what we want to do, what we have coming up in our themes, it's a good possibility that we could buy the design from you. I don't necessarily want to be inundated with emails asking how to do it, but we're trying to be receptive to the community and giving everybody from the community a chance. So if, like, say, a person that we see makes this particular object model, you know, a tank or an aircraft or something, they do it really well, then we're going to say, hey, would you like us, you know, would you be interested in having us release it? It's good public relations, community relations, when we actually have those interactions. And then, you know, you might know somebody, one of your friends may have designed a kit for Brickmania.
Sure.
So we're trying to spread it around as much as we can. And there's a few designers that we just have a joyous relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
They're a pleasure to work with. And, you know, that's how we find them, you know.
So when you guys are designing sets, obviously after the design is done, somebody has already put it together. Are you buying brand new pieces? Obviously, you've said, you know, the Bricklink stuff, or you're buying from other sellers. Are you trying to buy new product as much as possible to be able to make those, or?
We only use new bricks.
Okay.
So if we keep track of who we buy from, and if the bricks that we get aren't up to our standards, you know, like new enough. Yeah. You know, because honestly, as soon as you open the box, it's already going to have some scratches on the pieces. Yes. So if it's too damaged, we will make a note of it, and we may not continue to buy from that source. Because who knows, they could. It's an honor system.
It is. You're right. It is.
And we respect that most Bricklink or other sellers are going to sell only new bricks or new quality. We don't. If it says used, we kind of run out the other way. And it's not because that. There's nothing wrong with used bricks, but we don't want to have used bricks mixed into our stock.
You're going to get an off gray colored brick.
Right. And we don't want our our stuff is expensive. Yeah. And if somebody bought, you know, they throw down $1,000 for a set, they're not going to want to find a used brick.
No, that would probably end up really, really poor.
I mean, it's when something gets mixed, sometimes it slips through.
Sure.
And it's embarrassing for us, and you know, it's damaging to our reputations.
Yeah, you're like, I didn't mean it. I don't know how this happened. We'll here's the replacement.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, you started, like you said, the castle kind of stuff, with Lego in general. Mm-hmm. I mean, what drew you to Lego, whether as a kid or as an adult? Obviously, Brickmania is keeping you drawn now. Yeah. But so, where did your journey start?
I was like 4 years old. So it was a long time ago, by the way. So my parents went to Europe on a bicycle trip. Okay. And I stayed at Grandma's house. It was a couple of weeks. Maybe for me, it seemed like an eternity. and even today, they came back and they rewarded me with this little Lego set. It was like set number 6 or something. So that should date me.
It was all yellow.
No, it was mostly white. It had 4 of those little snap wheels that snap on. It was definitely a single digit set. Okay. That's how old. That's how long ago. And out of all the toys, that was the only one I kept playing with. And they just, you know, every year for, you know, Hanukkah or Christmas or birthdays, I would get more and more Lego. Okay. So it was, you know, almost 50 years of collecting.
That's a lot of collecting, man.
I didn't really have a dark age. I maybe had time where I didn't have time to build.
Okay.
So the Lego would sit in a closet for maybe a year while I used to play in bands, so we'd go on tour or else I'd drive them, or, you know, traveling around a lot. So there were periods where I didn't have time, but it wasn't for the lack of wanting.
Right.
It's just lack of time.
You're like, I just have no time for this plastic brick right now.
So, and all of my friends, like say in junior high, they were all growing out of their Lego, and a couple of different occasions, they sold me their collections. Like a friend of a friend of a friend wanted to. He's moving on. He's going to go to high school. He didn't want his Lego anymore. It wasn't cool. So I got like his collection, and it was like the second and third year classic space.
Oh my goodness!
For like $300, got every set. So at one point I had like 2 Galaxy Explorers, and my bricks were well used. They never left the floor in my room. His were brand new, so I got a replacement for every classic castle or classic space set there was.
So your journey started there. Now, some people that are mock builders, or obviously Brickmania is a little bit different. Do you still find yourself like, you know what, this whatever came out this year, that's really cool, I want to have that?
I'm in a unique position that I have one of everything we've done. Not my personal. I don't have a personal collection per se. There's the only Lego in my house are things that people have given me as gifts, like their own creations. It's the only Lego in my house. I have nothing of my own in the house. I think there's a guy with a garbage pail.
It's a garbage
on a little dolly, and that's the only like Dan creation in our house. So he cleans the kitchen every once in a while. But it's since we have that store in Minneapolis, it's our GHQ store. It's attached to our factory, same building, and we purposely got a store that was big enough to house like a sort of a display of all of the Brickmania kits that we. It's not everyone, but it's a good selection going back.
Right. So you're pulling some of the retro with some air quotes there.
Yeah.
It's
like once it's retired from production, it moves from the front of the store to one of the display cases in the back. So right now there's like 9 of these giant display cases. They're kind of organized by theme. And we created a series of instruction books of retired sets. So we have them organized by what the instruction books are. And then, of course, there's some that we've never made instructions for. We're starting to do that digitally so people can...
a lot of people are going digital with that kind of stuff.
Right. We resisted the digital just because of how easy it was to, like, the piracy stuff. And we resisted it for a long time because we print our own books, print our own instructions. And then we had a sort of revelation in the last year. Like, if we want to stop people from bootlegging and pirating us, let's just make it available easily, readily available to everyone, just like Lego has all their stuff. Yeah. So ours aren't free, but they're cheap enough that you wouldn't feel bad about, I'll pay you $10 for the plans of that airplane, when we download it, you can, if you get it from our site especially, you get a parts list that you can just plug into.
See, there you go.
Into Bricklink,
and you just pull it what you need.
Yeah, it'll automatically fill your
cart, and out you go. A couple $100,000 later.
Yeah, could be.
Depending on what it is. All right, well, Dan, where can people find Brickmania? Obviously, you guys have your website.
Yeah, it's brickmania.com.
Okay. And you guys on socials?
Yeah, absolutely. We're everywhere.
Okay.
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I believe we have Twitter. I haven't logged into our Twitter account in a long time.
Somewhere out there, possibly.
And they were all my accounts at one point, and then you guys take it over.
You young guys, gals that do this a lot better, the hashtag stuff. And I get that.
Then we have a retail store in Minneapolis at our headquarters, and then we have a store in Schaumburg, Illinois, and another one in Chantilly, Virginia. So literally across the parking lot from Brick Fair.
Okay, that means it'll be busy next weekend.
Yes, it'll be very busy.
So. It'll be really busy. I'm sad I don't get an opportunity to go to that one next weekend, but I'm sure
it's one of the biggest shows.
I know. Other engagements came along the way, but
it'll be there next year.
It'll be there next year. It won't be at that one for sure. So, really good talking to you, Dan. I'm glad you came on and spun the Brickmania stuff. I never get an opportunity. It's always Lego designers or other mock builders. It's not the guy of Brickmania. So
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Absolutely. So you guys check that out. We're going to pop out of here and take another quick break, and then we'll be back here with a few more guests and close out the show. So thanks again. All right, guys, we are back from break. And we've got another guest here, and this one you are going to love. You Bonkle kids out there are going to absolutely love this because, yes, the Lego Idea set didn't ultimately get made through the Bricklink Designer Program, but it happened. So I am joined today by...
My name is Orion_7. You could just call me Orion, and I am a pretty big Bionicle fan.
Pretty big, I would say number one in this room. with the display that you have over there under the lug. So what lug? You're part of the KC...
It's an interesting situation. Right now I'm here with the KC lug, but I currently live in Idaho. So I was flying back to visit some friends in Kansas, and this week so happened to be Brick Days, so I drove up with a friend of mine as part of the KC lug. Yeah.
And then... Does Idaho have a lug?
They do have a lug.
Really?
I have not gotten very involved with it yet, but I plan to. I have plans to.
So you've got a giant Bionicle collection down there.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about your Bionicle collection because it's huge.
Yeah. So the last Lego show I went to, I was only able to bring 3, and that was a little bit embarrassing. So this time I wanted to make sure that I brought a decent amount. I may have done a little bit of overkill, but yeah, no. Bionicle mock building has been a hobby of mine for a few years now. I first got into Bionicle in 2008, so right as it was starting to wrap up. But I remember I went to a bookstore with my grandma, and I was looking through the kids' book section, and I found one of the old graphic novels by Greg Farshty. And I got that, and I started reading that, and that's what started introducing me to the lore and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and then for it, the rest, as they say, is history. I'm really into the lore. I love the lore. I started buying the sets. I started looking for the older sets on eBay and stuff.
Sure.
And it was around... I think it wasn't until many years later that I started building my own.
Okay.
And it wasn't until like a couple years ago that I actually got good at it.
Well, I mean, they turned out well. So do you, as far as Bionicle goes, obviously Bionicle is dead. It's not coming back. As much as Bonkle fans want it to come back. So with that said, I mean, do you find yourself interacting with others that online? I know Bionicle people have a pretty big community online, on social media especially. Do you find yourself interacting with them, being like, you know what, I built this, or share it on, I don't know, Reddit forums or stuff like that? I don't even know if Bionicle has their own forum or whatever. I'm sure it does, but anything like that?
I don't have a very big social media presence personally, but I know there are a lot of places online where Bionicle people congregate. The places that I know of and am somewhat involved in I know that Bionicle stop motion on YouTube is pretty big, and not even stop motion, just like Bionicle mockers on YouTube are pretty big. I follow quite a few, and I'm in a few Discord servers as well, mostly from the said Bionicle YouTubers. But yeah, Discord is where I'm mainly at. They're like channels and stuff where you can post pictures of your mocks, get advice, just talk to other Bionicle fans about stuff, geek out together, which is always fun.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, it's always good. Collaboration is key, right?
Yes.
Just like anything, especially in the Lego community, collaboration is key, where you guys are bouncing ideas off of each other. You're like, you know what, I did this, I built this using these pieces that are new pieces or something that I've never even thought of before. It's a really cool environment for people to be in.
Yeah.
So anything else other than Bionicle? I know you have Bionicle here. Do you have anything else here today?
No. As far as displaying goes, I've only got the Bionicle stuff.
So, what are some other things that you would potentially like to display mock-wise?
Mock-wise, I'm not very good at brick building mocks, unlike literally everybody else here. Bionicle's really my niche. I would like to start getting into brick building, though.
Yeah.
The two main genres, so to speak, that I really enjoy are sci-fi and high fantasy, like medieval fantasy. So I'd like to start doing like some castle buildings and some rocket ships and stuff like that.
Yeah, those are castle, space.
Yeah, those are pretty classic.
Those are things that everybody is going to gravitate towards. So
yeah,
that is really cool. So You said you came into the Bionicle stuff as it was closing out, as they ultimately retired it for good. Are there anything that you currently are like, you know what, I really, really like this for this reason?
Like about the story or the sets or
yeah,
that's a hard question. There are a lot of things I love about it. I love the just the sheer number of different types of pieces and stuff, and how compatible it is with Technic. Because if there's one thing I learned from my mock building experience, it's that if you're going to build anything sizable, you need to have Technic incorporated in some capacity.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, I love how versatile all the pieces are. Like an arm piece isn't just an arm. You can use it as a torso, as armor, as a leg, back plating. You can use every piece for not its intended purpose, and it works really well.
I mean, that's important. You don't really see. I mean, Lego is modular in its form, where you can create umpteen combinations using the same bricks.
Yeah.
The Bionicle stuff is really interesting to see. I didn't even realize that was even a thing, that you could even do something like that. So it's really, really out there. You're on the younger side.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
I'm an A-full now, officially.
You're an A-fall, okay. A lot of the other lug members that I've talked to, been around it for decades and decades and stuff like that. They have a something that, like, you know what, man, I love this. This is my favorite thing. What is your favorite Lego set?
Ooh. That is a tough one. Probably my favorite Lego set that I currently own the first one that pops into my head is the new Legacy Destiny's Bounty from Ninjago, because I've been a Ninjago fan since day one. A little bit disappointed with how they're handling the show after the 2017 movie, but as far as the sets go, I've been loving their Legacy stuff, and the Legacy Destiny's Bounty they came out with last year is fantastic.
Interesting. More modern. I've heard modern, and I've heard classic as well. I heard only one person say classic castle stuff, so
gotcha.
That's always a good thing. So, well, the Bionicle stuff, I hope you run into more people at other shows. Do you have any other shows that you plan on attending anytime soon?
I don't know of any shows specifically, but I definitely would like to display more. Like I said, I'm planning to get more involved with the Idaho Lug. Yeah. I don't know if they have any big events coming up, but if they do, I will definitely try to be at those. And I do fly out here to the Midwest about once a year to visit friends. Mm-hmm. So if there are shows going on around that time, like this year, I will definitely try to make it to those, because this is a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a great environment. Well, I appreciate you coming on and chatting, and we're going to take another quick break, guys, and wrap up here. We've got one segment left, and then we will call it a day here at Brick Fair. I just did them an injustice here at Nebraska Brick Days, so I appreciate you coming on and chatting a little bit about Bionicle.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right, guys, we are back for our last segment / 2 segments of the day. I've got 2 more guests that I want to share with you. And the first one here, go ahead and
Tim,
introduce
Philly.
yourself. Tim came up from KC up here to Nebraska Brick Days, and he built something that, well, you've already heard one Star Wars person today. Why not have another? So tell me all about your Star Wars build.
Yeah, so I'm a big Star Wars fan, like a lot of people.
Sure.
A lot of people here.
A lot of people here.
Absolutely. And my favorite movie is Solo.
Okay.
And I've always been a huge fan of the Millennium Falcon. And when I saw that for the first time in the movie, I was like, "Whoa, this thing's awesome! This is pretty amazing. I think I could do this with Lego." So I have a pretty big Lego room downstairs.
Okay.
Probably somewhere in the range of 200 square feet of space down there. And one day I was looking at my UCS Millennium Falcon, and I said, "What if I turned that into the Kessel Run Millennium Falcon that I just saw in the movie?" And from there, I spent about 500 hours building it in Bricklink Studio, and converted it into real life about 2 years ago. Took me probably 100 or so hours to build it.
Well, you did the hard work. The hard work is already designing it. Now you just have to build it.
And I'm pretty proud of it. I did a full interior, did a common room, did Lando's bed, did the cape room where the famous kissing scene took place. And it gets a lot of attention. I love it. I love talking to people about Lego.
Yeah.
And just my next project, and a lot of people ask me about this, is what theme are you going to do next? So I'm thinking about taking that and putting a Vader theme to it, doing it all black.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That would be.
I do a lot of stuff like that on Instagram through my handle TK Bricks.
Okay, I was going to ask you where can we find you?
Yeah, TK Bricks on Instagram. Okay. I do a lot of features about other people's creations, because that's what I really enjoy about Lego is the community, the social aspect, and I feel like the more people get their work out there, it's seen. I kind of use it as a platform to display other people's work as along with mine. The better, kind of rising tide.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've talked to numerous people today, both on here and then just walking around in between breaks and stuff like that, in collaboration, just, chit-chatting, maybe you build a Millennium Falcon, somebody else built a Millennium Falcon, and you go back and forth, and you're like, well, I did this, and I did this. Oh, that's cool. I should try that next time, and I maybe redesign it, because that's, you built your mock, but there's so many people that go back and say, you know what, I want to update it, or I want to do this different, or these new pieces, I have an idea of how I want to do this. So that's really cool. So, so how long have you been building? Obviously, you've got the creative juices. So
my dark ages I came out of in 2015.
Okay.
With a Lego set. My wife and I are empty nesters. All of our kids are off in other places of the world, and so I got on Amazon, checked it, and saw this London Bridge, and I'm like, hey, you want to build this with me? And that was like the start of getting back into Lego, because it gave us something to do together. Yeah. We do a lot of building together, and that was like, it took off from there. Yeah. Set after set after set. She kind of like, once we got a small table built of our city, she said, okay, I know you're into Star Wars, but you got to pick one. Either Star Wars or the city. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to say Star Wars because you really don't like Star Wars, so why would I pick that?
Yeah.
So 3 years later, I'm like, the Millennium Falcon's coming out, and I've wanted this set forever. So she said, okay, you can do this, and that got me into Star Wars. So now I'm doing both. Yeah. I've got a full room of Lego downstairs.
See, you've got your own Lego space. Your kids come home and they're like, what happened to my dad?
Yeah.
Y'all were gone. I got to keep myself busy somehow.
That's right. Yeah, and it's part of my life, yeah. Lego is. And that's the most important thing for me, is the people I get to meet. Because we all share a common interest, right?
Yeah.
We're all here for Lego.
Yeah.
But for me, that's like takes a back seat to just like what we're doing now.
Sure.
You and I just met.
Yeah. 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
10 minutes ago.
Yeah, and it's sharing people's stories about their own lives and what Lego means to them.
Right.
Get to know other people. That's what Lego means to me.
Well, you bring that up, and I've said this to people a number of times. I have found some really close relationships with people in the Lego community, some that I have met in person, some that I haven't, because doing, podcasts, I'm running across guests from all over the world and stuff like that. But then there's some that you talk to on a daily basis, and you really become friends.
Yep.
And Lego is just that medium that brought you together. So
that's right.
That's really cool. And it's really cool that you and your wife have found that. I hear sometimes that couples build together, and then other times it's like, no, he does it or she does it, or then I'll build this, he'll build this, and we just go our own route. So either way, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you're having fun, you're enjoying time together,
Yep, and it's just sort of a relaxed thing for us to do at night, Build a set, listen to music. We love to play music bingo, so we're putting together a set, and she has just a random podcast or a random music playlist on,
right?
And we're like, "Who's this?" And we'll just hang for 3 hours, just building Lego, listen to music, and chilling. And I do Instagram Lives every week.
Okay.
I love meeting new people.
Yeah.
People who might be scared to get in front of a microphone.
Sure.
Or in front of a camera. And just to see that person come alive and out of their shell to talk about something they enjoy is really rewarding.
Yeah. There is something to that. And my audience already knows that. You guys already know there's already been a specific person I've had on before that it took like a year of, like, hey, come on out of the shell. It's all right. I'm not going to bite. It'll be fine. And then once they come out, they just blow up into space. So that's really cool. So Star Wars, City, I mean, you've got your stuff that's going on. Any other mocks that you've done that people would be like, holy crap?
Okay, so something that people are always surprised about me is I am a big Taylor Swift fan. Okay. I'm a huge Swiftie.
Okay. I would have never guessed that.
Exactly.
But, yeah,
yep.
Right?
How many people do you know who love Star Wars and Taylor Swift together?
No, not very many.
So I've done my friend Kate, who you're going to interview next, is big into mosaics.
Okay.
And we do a lot of lives together, and she inspired me to get into mosaics.
Okay.
And so I started with one of my favorite albums from Taylor is Evermore. So I put an album cover together for that, and then I just designed a 4-foot by 4-foot mosaic of another album cover.
Oh my goodness!
And it's called Lover, and I love it. It's going on my wall when I get home.
I was going to say, you got to put it on your wall. It's done. It's going on the wall. That is not something I would have expected. Star Wars, Taylor Swift, album cover built out of Lego. You've got your own Lego art collection, mosaics that you've created on your own due to Taylor Swift. That's pretty wild. That is not something.
Super unique, right?
Super unique. Like, if you were going to pick the most two opposite things, Star Wars and Taylor Swift, I don't think I could have picked anybody any different than what I just found here. So with that in mind, you mentioned you came out of your dark ages in 2015. When did your Lego journey begin?
When I was a kid, there were a couple sets that meant a lot to me, castle-themed related sets.
Of course.
They were given as gifts to me, and I remember being immersed in putting those sets together.
Okay.
And playing with them, and I wish I would have held on to those sets.
Ah, see?
Yep, didn't do it.
I talked to somebody else a little bit ago, and they said, no, I kept them all. I kept everything. From my childhood, I kept it all. Yeah, everybody has that regret. They're like, man, I should have.
Big time regret.
So then moving along, you get to a point, obviously, you get older. Some people push the Lego away. They're like, I don't want it at all. Dump it. Some people store it. You came back to it in 2015. Yep. Was there any other inkling, like, you know what, I kind of want to get into this? Or was it just like a violent shove other than just hopping on Amazon and you're like, I just have to do this. Let's do it together.
So for the people who know me, I jump in head first in anything that I do. Any hobby. And sometimes it sticks and sometimes it doesn't. I used to brew my own beer, met a lot of great people, but I got out of that.
Right.
And jumped into Lego, and it was something stuck with me. I don't know if part of it was taking me back to my younger days and how much I enjoyed just the assembly process and the playing process about that. Really enjoyed that. But really stuck is it's something that my wife enjoyed with me.
And that's, I don't want to say it's hard to find. It's uncommon to find it in Lego with couples for the most part, or something they can agree on in Lego. So that is Hey, props to that. That makes healthy relationships right there.
Absolutely.
Activities that you can do together, whether it's obviously in this space, it's Lego that we're talking about, but anything else is always a big thing. So is there a set that you're like, you know what, this is my number one favorite, everything else could go away, this would be the only one that I would keep?
UCS Millennium Falcon.
Of course it is.
Is that a shocker?
Of course. I'm not shocked at all. Not one bit. So the Star Wars people always stay with Star Wars.
Yeah. So let's take that set out for a second. Okay. Let's just set it aside. It's the Ninjago City set.
Okay. The
original.
very first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason I enjoyed that set, building techniques, colors, story, the size of it, it's to me it's magical.
Yeah.
So much so that I bought the docks,
and then
the
now
newest
you bought the
gardens.
gardens.
Yes, and all three of them look amazing together. So yeah, it would definitely be the city for me.
Interesting. I usually don't hear that. Usually it's a space, classic space, castle, pirates, or you're hearing stuff like one of the first modulars or something like that, or some tiny set from when they were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of interesting to hear. It's something more modern than not. So very cool stuff. Well, I appreciate you coming on and telling us a little bit about your Lego journey and your models. You said TK Bricks, on Instagram. Check him out. You guys can see some of his stuff that he does. You do the live once a week, right?
Yep, usually on Tuesday evenings.
Okay. And yeah, so I appreciate you coming on and sharing some Lego, because at the end of the day, it's really all that matters.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Matt. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we are going to take last break, and we are going to bring on Kate, like he said, for the final segment to wrap up this show. So hang tight, and we'll be back here in a second. right. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't realize my music had went out. I just was sitting here talking to the next guest, and I was like, oh, darn. Whoops. Sorry. So there was probably some dead space for some of you were wondering. We did not go away. I am joined by an awesome person that has got some wicked builds here that if you were to see them, and I've got some pictures of them, but if you were to see them, you were probably going to cry with how beautiful they are. So I'm joined by Kate. Kate, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So you are here. I was told you have to get the Mosaic Lady. You have to get the Mosaic Lady. Like, that's all I heard was the Mosaic Lady, the Mosaic Lady. So you are the Mosaic Lady. You are the one that has created these crazy mosaics that you have down there. Tell us a little bit about your journey to getting to this point, because they look like pieces of art that should be hanging in a museum.
Oh, that's super nice. Thank you. I actually went to Nathan Sawaya's Art of the Brick like 4 years ago, and I did Lego with my brother as a kid, and then I went away from it, played college volleyball, and did not do any Lego.
Right, obviously.
I was an art history major in college,
Right.
Didn't use this as a medium, but always did mixed media. So
Okay.
I would always mix, paint with pencil, with ribbon, with all kinds of different stuff. And then we took my son to the Art of the Brick when he was about 5, and he was starting to get into Lego.
Okay.
And I walk in, and I'll never forget it. I walk in, and I was like, oh, my God, this is so cool. I was totally nerding out, like just seeing all the things that I had studied in college.
Sure.
And then I had that moment of, oh, my gosh, I could do this. I want to do this. I'm going to do it. I'm doing this. So I went home, got out all of my art history books. Roy Lichtenstein pop art is definitely my favorite era. So I chose the girl with the ribbon, and she's at home on our wall in our house, but she was my first one, and she's made from all recycled Lego. So there's no new Lego in her.
Okay.
So the bulk bins.
Yeah.
So I sat there for months.
I was going to say, you must have been sitting there forever.
Months digging through, picking out all the pieces I wanted. But I wanted it to have that comic book style.
Okay.
I wanted it to be unlike other mosaics you've seen. It's definitely the way I draw, too. It's kind of that style. So definitely use all different types of pieces to create depth. And then I did Wham, this part of Wham second, and then a Statue of Liberty third. That one's at home, too. And then the girl drowning was my more recent one, and she's probably the most meaningful to me.
Why is that? I
think it's like losing myself, losing that part of yourself for a while, and then coming back into it and like figuring out what you're like quote unquote supposed to be doing.
Right. Yes.
And finding it, and then you're just like, and it was during COVID.
Okay.
Too. So it was, and I'm a school counselor and talk about mental health with kids all the time.
So there was a real big meaning to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that one's super meaningful. But there's hidden pieces in all of them. So if you guys are around and want to come check them out, they're like search and find pieces all up in there. So. That's a popular thing here, the seek and find stuff that are on these builds and stuff like that. And I've found myself early this morning, and then just throughout the day, just walking around like, I found you. And some of them are just like the Jurassic Farm, or you see Princess Elsa, but I haven't gotten to that point yet. So after we're done here, I'll definitely have to do some of those. So your Lego journey, where did it begin? Other than just your son, was that the beginning? That was pretty much the beginning.
And then you just, you know what? I'm not looking back. I'm going hardcore.
I knew I wanted to get into art again. It was like a super self-care thing for me.
Sure.
Hearing things from kids all day, you have to find a way to separate that. So that was definitely self-care. And just something that makes me super happy and like allows me to meet new people every day.
Sure.
I run like a build series on Instagram.
Okay.
So like once a month I choose a theme, and then people build within that theme in the community around the world. And then I do like a brick and showcase live where people can jump on and show their builds.
That is really neat.
It's really fun.
That's awesome.
It's really cool.
So where you mentioned about on Instagram, so where can people find you on Instagram?
At Brick Huntress.
Brick Huntress.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other social media, or are you just mainly like a Instagram focus?
Mainly Instagram right now. I do have a YouTube channel. I've only posted video. I haven't done any live stuff on there yet.
Okay.
I mostly pop onto other people's
Oh,
YouTube
okay.
streams.
Sure. Like, hey, I'm the Brick Huntress. See me right here. That makes a lot of sense. It takes out the legwork. All you have to do is show up and have the conversation, right? Here's my face. This is what I'm doing. This is what I have. See, done. Yeah. Well, that's cool. It's really nice to hear. You talk about de-stressing and stuff like that. You have a stressful job. I'm a teacher myself. I'm not a counselor. But you come home at the end of the day and you're like, all I want is quiet, and I just want to go click, 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 snap, snap. With that in mind, Lego has come out with their art series, and they have different stuff. It was basically created, talking to the designers, it was created to just allow de-stress and just unwind after being an adult for the day, and then having the soundtrack with it to go and just kind of zone out from the world. So you've kind of almost beat them to the punch with it. Like, I've been doing this. You guys should have came at me and I could have helped you out. So what are your thoughts on that? Obviously you've done it, but what are your thoughts on that being able to be released to the masses for other people that at a time, during COVID, where some people were just, I hate to say it, in a really bad mental health state.
Yeah.
So
I think it's wonderful. Like, the second I saw that, I was like, yes. Oh my God, this is so great. I myself have done the Harry Potter one.
Okay, yeah.
Before. And there's something about just following directions and like sitting and zoning out and zenning out and I love that they come with the podcast too. I think whatever, like each one has one. And you can use them over again. So even after you build them, if you feel like, hey, I would rather build, design my own thing, you have the base for it now.
Yes, you
do.
do.
Now people can create their own, it's always extra pieces.
Always the extra pieces. You can always get tiles cheap. You can always get studs cheap. So it's always that's real easy to do. Well, that's kind of interesting. I'm glad that you're like, yes, because a lot of people, and I know you've done your mosaics, but a lot of people kind of like, the art stuff, it's not for me. It's not. But there is that mental health side to it, and it is important. It cannot be understated enough. Where you got to take care of yourself. And
to be fair, I didn't purchase it myself. I was gifted.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But I don't think that I would personally buy one for myself because I know I could do it on
because
my
you
own.
can do it yourself,
right?
And in a much
a
grand scale,
which is a little different. But I like that it's there for people to do.
Sure.
Now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is impressive. So, how many different models do you have down there right now?
I have 5. Wait. I had to think about that for a second. If you count Wham as 2, then there's 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've already heard about kind of what your favorite was to this point. Is there something that you're doing in the future where you're like, you know what, I can't wait to share this with the community?
Yeah.
Can you give us a teaser? You don't have to sell it completely, but something that to give people to hang on.
I'm doing my next large one is going to be Stranger Things.
Oh my God! Everybody's going to be gushing.
I love anything spooky. I've always loved like the X-Files and just all of it. So, it's going to be like a 2-panel piece, and one side is going to be the upside.
Okay.
And the other panel is going to be the underside, and then they're going to flip and turn as you go.
Goodness.
So you see both sides.
You're going to make people cry. That sounds really cool.
So
that sounds really
to have
interesting.
That done either by, BrickCon is pretty soon, so
yes.
I don't think I'm going to get it done by then.
Probably not.
But by Bricks Cascade is my home convention in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah. Okay. Have you done any commissions?
I have.
You have?
Yes.
What commissions have you done to this point?
I've done some of the iconic Oregon posters, like the national park posters. I've done 3 of those. A fisherman, that one was my favorite. Just down the river with trees in the background. I liked the colors of that one. I make my own mosaic kits.
I was going to ask. That was going to be my next question.
I've sold about 300-ish,
Oh,
maybe 400 now to kids,
it's moving
adults. Up. Yeah. So I provide the base plate, directions, and all the pieces.
Awesome.
And they're all my designs.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's something. There's something there with the art demographic for people.
Yeah.
And to have something like that you created, I mean, that's got to be extremely exciting. Like, oh my God, I've sold this. It's something.
Yeah, one of the posters, I was like, oh my God, that just happened. You know, like that moment of selling your first art piece is like, you can't even explain it.
Yeah.
Like, it was so cool.
So have you ever thought about, you know, some of your big ones down there, have you ever thought about, you know what, yes, I like taking them to shows and stuff like that, but maybe if somebody were to come up to me and say, hey, is this for sale? Would you sell something?
I would sell some of them, yeah. I don't think I would sell my original girl just because it means a lot, and I don't think I would sell that drowning girl. I would make a new one for someone.
Okay.
Like I would keep mine and then make another copy.
That would make sense, yeah. There's something about the original, first edition.
Just the two girls, I think. Those are the ones that I would keep.
Everything else could go.
Copy of, but the other ones I would let go. Yeah.
So if somebody were wanting to get in contact with you and say, you know what, I am serious about doing a commission for whatever, it could be a somebody that works at a library. You know, we were talking about that earlier, for something that's coming up. They just get in contact with you via Instagram? Like, how do they start the conversation? Hey, I'm going to slide in your DMs. Can I?
Pretty much. That's usually it.
Okay.
Yeah, people ask me to do custom kits for their kids sometimes. But, yeah, that's how the last couple have gone. BrickHuntressMosaics@gmail is my email. So that's another way to get in touch with me about that, too.
Well, there you heard it, guys. Some cool stuff from Kate. And I've got some pictures that I'll post up on Instagram of her mosaics, because I'm telling you, they will probably bring a tear to your eye, just like everything else in this room, but in a different way. So, Kate, it was nice having a chat with you. I've been chasing you around, like I said, for 2 hours trying to find you. You were elusive, and you said you were like hiding under the table. So just stay away. I need mental health time. I'm just kidding. But I appreciate you coming on and talking about mosaics, because it was just something else that somebody else needed to hear, like sharing that side of it, because you see all these builds and stuff like that, but it was just different. So I appreciate it, and I hope your success continues to grow as an artist and as an entrepreneur as well. And it's all about plastic, that people connect with each other, but hey, it's brought out probably 15,000 people easily today. So hopefully it continues and you see growth from that. So if you guys are interested, you can go to her Instagram. Sorry, I mind blanked there for a second. Or you can email her and get some more information if you're just curious or you want to buy some stuff. So with that said, we're going to close this show out, guys. I really appreciate all of you listening today. And you guys, if you're hearing this and you want to share it with somebody else, it is in its podcast form. As soon as this show is over, it is posted up as a podcast. It's not edited down like the rest of the shows, obviously, because we are live and you can hear all the noisy background in the background. But with that said, guys, we're going to close out Nebraska Brick Days and 2021 up here. I appreciate everybody up here in Nebraska, the Nebraska kindness from all my guests that were on today. I appreciate it. Make sure you go show them some love, follow them on their social medias, and just check out and see what they're doing. And hopefully you found today interesting enough to attend a show coming to you soon.